Hi, my name's Tim Harmer. I'm originally from the Columbus area, so go Bucks. That always goes over well with my friends who are U of M fans. We have 3 adult children. Kyle is 32, Craig is 30. Craig just got married here about 6 weeks ago. Kyle and his wife Sarah have 2 daughters, Macy and Zoe, which are my granddaughters. They really light up my life. And then my daughter Chelsea is 24. She's still living at home with us right now, but she's getting ready to make a move to Florida. So after that, we're going to be empty nesters. I've been saved for most of my life. I was saved when I was 5 years old. In early 2015, I slipped on the ice and injured an already damaged shoulder to the point that I needed to have that repaired. So I went in March and had shoulder surgery. So after the surgery, it was probably about 6 or 8 weeks after the surgery, I was at physical therapy and working to get that shoulder restored. And I blacked out while I was there, and I did not come back to consciousness cleanly. So they took me to the hospital and started running tests, and they discovered that I had a blood clot that had moved into my lung. But it created some difficulties, and after a period of time in the hospital, they went ahead and let me go, and we tried to return to some normalcy. However, during this time, I'd also been having increased pain in my back. I had had back surgery in 2012, and they installed some hardware in order to stabilize my lower back. I called the neurosurgeon who had done my first surgery and talked to him about it. We did some MRIs. So the correction that they suggested for that was to go back in, remove the rods and screws that were in my back, and reinstall longer rods which would extend further up my back in order to stabilize that. Now, I wasn't quite ready to swim in those waters yet, so we decided to try steroid injections in my back, pain injections. So during June and July, I was going through that series of injections in my back to try to deal with that pain. In August, I had my annual cancer checkup with my urologist. And I'd been doing that for several years and been cancer-free for many years. In this particular case, he found a node on my prostate that had not been there before. He said, that's unusual. We need to check that out and see what's going on. So that wasn't quite as straightforward to do because I was still on blood thinners from the pulmonary embolism that I'd had earlier in the year. So after negotiating that out with 2 or 3 different doctors, we finally set up a prostate biopsy that I was going to have in October. During that time, through the months of August and September, it became evident that the injections I was having in my back were not helping. And the pain was increasing to the point that I was no longer able to sleep in my bed. I had to sleep in a chair or a recliner. I was unable to stand or walk for a very long period of time. I had to sit down to get off my feet to relieve the pain. And so in early October, I called the neurosurgeon back and I said, we're going to have to go ahead and schedule surgery. I'm going to have to get this fixed. We can't go on the way it is. So on October the 12th, the day that I was scheduled for the biopsy for my prostate, same week that I was scheduled to go in to talk to the neurosurgeon about scheduling back surgery, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up in the middle of a heart attack. And never had heart trouble before, never expected to have that at all. But as soon as I woke up, I knew right away what was happening. I had all the classic symptoms. So my wife immediately called 911. Thank God there was an ambulance that was actually in the area, not too far from our home. They were able to respond very quickly. They got there, they got me stabilized, got me to the hospital. And once they did the heart catheterization, they discovered that I had 4 arteries that were all blocked between 80 and 100%. They were unable to put a stent in to repair them, and so I was going to have open heart surgery. So on October the 19th, I went in for what at the time was my 11th surgery, and they opened me up and did a quadruple bypass. The recovery from that was unlike any of the surgeries that I had had before. It's hard to explain. I was very thankful to have my family there, with my wife, my daughter, my sons were there for me. And I drew a lot of strength from them. But Pastor Corey preached on Psalm 23 a week ago. And when I was starting to come out from under the anesthesia and the fear and the panic and the pain that I was dealing with at the time, the thoughts that came to my mind, the verses that came to my mind at the time were Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I have nothing that I lack. As difficult as that was, there was a closeness there that I felt. I felt closer to God at that time than maybe any other time. And I drew a lot of comfort from that. That was probably the deepest valley that we had been through. And I couldn't imagine that we would have to deal with anything worse than that. But I was wrong. The next morning, the surgeon came in, woke me early in the morning, and he said, "We have a problem." Not the sort of words you want to hear from a surgeon at that point in time. My thought was, okay, what's the problem? Let's fix it. He said, "We've had to give you blood overnight. You are bleeding internally, and your lung is filling up with blood." And he said, "We're going to have to open you back up again, and we're going to have to go in and find where the leak is and repair it." And I was so overwhelmed at the time that I told him no. I really thought at that point that if God wanted to take me, that I was ready to go. Fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and my wife came in. And so we went ahead and okayed the surgery, and they went back in again the next day, and were able to find the issues and get them repaired during my second open heart surgery. So coming out of that, over time, I've tried to realize that that was a good thing. And God brought us through that to teach us how much we really need to rely on Him and how good He is to be able to support us and teach us and bring us closer to Him. We've been singing a song in church over the last few weeks, "Found in You." And the chorus of that says, "All I want and all I need is found in You, Jesus." He's the one that meets all our needs. He's the one that brings us through whatever we have to go through. And He's made us stronger and taught me so much through these experiences that I wouldn't change anything if I had a chance to go back and do it. Thank you, Lord.